Hello, everyone. It's Nathan here. Welcome back to the Learn English podcast channel. Today, we're talking about a very important topic, how to start learning English for beginners. And to help us answer this question, I have invited a very special guest, Miss Jessica.
Thank you, Nathan. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessica. I run the YouTube channel Learn English with Jessica. It's a great honor to be here.
Jessica, what do you think about learning English?
Learning English can be fun and exciting. It's like opening a door to the world. It helps us meet new people and learn new things. But it's also challenging.
Absolutely, Jessica. So, where should our beginners start?
Now, if you're just starting, it's okay to feel a little scared. But don't worry, we're here to help.
So, Jessica, could you share your first tip for our beginners learning English?
Sure, Nathan. My first tip is speak English whenever and wherever you can.
That sounds simple enough. But how can beginners practice this?
Start with simple greetings. Say hello or how are you to friends or even to yourself in the mirror.
Speaking to yourself? That's an interesting idea.
Yes, it helps build confidence. And use English in your daily tasks, like doing GTD, the getting things done method.
So, put English into everyday life is key.
Exactly. And don't worry about making mistakes. It's all part of the learning process.
I guess fear of making mistakes stops a lot of people.
It does. But remember, every mistake is an opportunity to learn.
Great advice, Jessica. So, speaking English as much as possible is the first step.
Yes, and try to find a speaking partner or join an English speaking group online.
That's a great idea. It can make learning more interactive and fun.
Exactly. And listening to English music or watching movies can also improve your speaking skills.
So, immerse yourself in the language as much as you can.
Absolutely. The more you surround yourself with English, the faster you'll learn.
Thank you for sharing, Jessica. This tip is definitely a game changer for beginners.
My pleasure, Nathan. I'm happy to help.
Moving on, Jessica. What is the second tip you have for us?
The second tip is to learn new words every day. It's a simple yet powerful way to build your vocabulary.
That sounds like a solid strategy. But how can beginners effectively learn new words?
One way is to use flashcards. Write the new word on one side and its meaning on the other.
Flashcards, got it. And reviewing them regularly would help, I assume.
Exactly. Another tip is to read as much as possible. Reading helps you encounter new words in context.
Reading? Like books, articles, or anything specific?
Anything that interests you. It could be books, online articles, or even social media posts.
So, keeping it varied and interesting. That's a great approach.
Yes, and try to use the new words in sentences. This will help you remember them better.
Using them in sentences, right? It's like making those words truly yours.
Absolutely. And don't hesitate to ask for meanings of words you don't understand.
Asking questions is part of the learning process, then.
It is. Curiosity will lead you to learn more and faster.
Jessica, this tip is incredibly helpful. Learning new words daily can really expand one's vocabulary.
Yes, and it's exciting to see progress as your vocabulary grows.
Thanks for sharing this tip, Jessica. I'm sure our listeners will find it very useful. Let's get to the third tip, shall we?
The third tip is immersion. You must immerse yourself in English as much as possible.
Immerse? Could you explain a bit more about what that means?
Certainly. Immersion means surrounding yourself with English. Listen, speak, read, and think in English.
That sounds like a comprehensive approach. How can beginners start immersing themselves?
Start by changing the language settings on your phone or computer to English. It's a simple step, but very effective.
Interesting. And I suppose watching English movies or TV shows helps too?
Absolutely. Watching media in English helps you get used to the rhythm and sounds of the language.
And I guess trying to think in English is part of this immersion process?
Yes, thinking in English forces your brain to work in the language, which accelerates your learning.
It's like living in an English-speaking environment without having to travel.
Exactly. And try to interact with native speakers online or find language exchange partners.
Interaction with native speakers can really boost confidence and skills.
Yes, and it provides real-life practice, which is invaluable for learning.
This tip really emphasizes the importance of active engagement with the language.
Absolutely. Immersion is key to mastering English. The more you immerse, the quicker you learn.
Thanks for sharing such an essential tip, Jessica. Our listeners will surely benefit from it.
It's my pleasure, Nathan. Remember, consistency and immersion are your best friends on this journey.
We've covered a lot of ground today, Jessica. What's the final tip you have for our audience?
The last tip is to spend time with people who speak English. This is vital for practicing and improving your language skills.
That makes a lot of sense. But what if our listeners don't know any English speakers around them?
There are many online communities and language exchange sites where you can meet English speakers.
So, leveraging the internet to find speaking partners. Great advice.
Yes, and don't forget about local meetups or English speaking clubs. They can be great places to practice.
Joining clubs sounds like a fun way to learn. Plus, you get to meet new people.
Exactly. It's about creating a supportive environment where you can freely practice speaking English.
And I imagine it boosts confidence too as you use English in real-life situations.
Absolutely. Confidence grows with practice, and before you know it, speaking English becomes second nature.
This has been incredibly informative, Jessica. Spending time with English speakers is key to learning the language.
Yes, Nathan. I hope your listeners find these tips helpful on their journey to becoming fluent in English.
Thank you for sharing your expertise, Jessica. Our listeners surely have a lot to take away from today's podcast.
It was my pleasure, Nathan. Thank you for having me. And to everyone listening, keep practicing and don't give up.
Now, let's discuss some vocabulary from the conversation. Immersion. The action of immersing someone or something in a liquid in language learning. It often refers to a method of teaching a foreign language by the exclusive use of that language. Example, she improved her Spanish by moving to Spain for total immersion in the language and culture. Flashcards. Cards bearing information such as vocabulary words on either or both sides, used in classroom drills or in private study. They are a popular method for learning and memorizing facts. Example, he used flashcards to memorize the periodic table for his chemistry class. Strategy. A plan of action designed to achieve a long-term or overall aim. In various contexts, it involves setting goals, determining actions to achieve the goals, and mobilizing resources to execute the actions. Example, their strategy for improving their English skills included practicing speaking for an hour each day. Interact. Definition, to act in such a way as to have an effect on another, to communicate or work together. This term is often used to describe social actions between people or between people and technology. Example, the best way to learn a new language is to interact with native speakers. Engagement. The action of engaging or being engaged. In social contexts, it refers to the involvement or commitment to some activity or process. In digital media, it often refers to the extent of an audience's interaction with content. Example, the teacher increased student engagement by incorporating interactive games into the lessons. Curiosity. A strong desire to know or learn something. It refers to the interest leading individuals to explore, investigate, and ask questions about their surrounding world. Example, her curiosity about other cultures led her to travel to over 20 countries. Well, that wraps up today's episode of the Learn English podcast. A huge thank you to Miss Jessica for joining us and sharing such valuable tips for learning English. And don't forget, every little step counts. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more tips and discussions that will help you on your English learning journey. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep pushing your limits and exploring the world through English. Goodbye.